Hi, and welcome to Red Rum Media. Thank you for checking out our channel. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn on that notification bell. Drop a comment below, let us know what you think. Hi everyone, and welcome back to Red Rum Media. I'm Kay. So we have a Chris Watts saga going on right now, and of course we are getting more information pretty much every day for the last few days in regards to the upcoming book release of Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders, and this is by Cheryln Cadle. So the information that we're learning now is coming out from the Daily Mail, as they have done some exclusive interviews with Shanann, and they have also received some of the letters, and one in particular, they received 4 pages of this letter. It's the full letter, and if you go back to my video that I did just the other day, you'll see that on there, and that video has that full letter in there that you can read for yourself, and I also read that for you. Just note to self, my editing isn't the best, but you know, I try. So also, we are coming out with more information every day on other cases, or researching it to come out with more information. So stay tuned to our channel, and we're also trying a new platform. We're trying a new way to record video, and I know that some of our people like to listen to us, and then others like to view the YouTube videos and view us on other platforms. So I'm trying something a little bit different where you can kind of see me right now. I'm not used to this, so just let me know what you think. And I will definitely take that into consideration. If you like it, let me know. Drop us a comment below. If you don't like it, let us know too. I can always try to put something else up as well. But I figured maybe if you're the visual type, you'd like to see us. So just let me know, like I said. So again, the information primarily is coming out from the Daily Mail, as they have come out with some new articles, and it's based on the upcoming book and release, Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders. That is linked down below, in addition to the Daily Mail, as the book is coming out on October 7th. So it's just a few days from release date now. You can also pre-order that. So we have learned now, and I kind of went through this in the last couple of days, that shockingly his daughters woke up bruised and traumatized after Chris Watts is saying that he strangled Shanann to death in their bed. He's saying that he smothered the girls first, he slipped back into bed, and he proceeded to get in an argument with Shanann after he said he was leaving her and wanted a divorce, I think it was. And they got into an argument. He admits to, killing her, and he says that they woke up. He had to commit that act again when he was at the oil field or oil site. He also admits to concealing other facts from authorities, and he would not talk on phone calls about specific information, because he says that he never knew when his phone calls were going to be recorded or when they'd be screened. He says that I don't like saying stuff like that over the phone because I'm never certain when they screen my calls. That was something that he wrote in one of the letters to Shanann. He admitted in the letter that he had been plotting the murders for some time. So we're learning some, again, information that we already went over, but some additional information that they're kind of pointing out. I'm kind of summarizing a few different articles and putting in some of their direct quotes too, to make it easy for you guys. I know I'm constantly trying to get updates on the cases that I follow, and sometimes it's easiest if I have those all in one spot. So we're also learning exact specifics of the interactions and relationship that Shanann had and has had with Chris Watts thus far. And it appears that she has actually gone to visit him 3 times. And in those 3 times, she's visited him for about 5 hours apiece. And she still talks to him as well. She talks to him about 3 times a week. And their most recent conversation took place last week, is what they're saying. So I don't know exactly when they had this interview and when it was published versus when they actually talked, but it was likely last week. If not, maybe this week, since this has been published, or since their interview. After meeting in person, Watts decided to allow Cadle at that point to use his letters for her first book. And again,
book is called Letters from Christopher, The Tragic Confessions of the Watts Family Murders. He agreed to the book in exchange for her promise that she would publish his testimony of coming to God and the forgiveness that he's received. Cadle really says that she's unsure why he has responded back to her, although he's received dozens of interview requests and probably hundreds, if not thousands, of letters at this point. She says there was a lot of preparation that was put into this book. 15 hours, like we said, of the time spent in prison. And later on in this video, you will actually hear about her prison experience and going there and meeting with him. And again, all of the letters, I think it's mentioned that they had dozens of letters between the both of them. So a lot of this information that's gone between the both of them has been about the murders, and that's really what the articles get into after a short introduction. And they basically go over in detail what Chris is now saying and some of the information that Cheryln has gotten from him as well. So just know that it's not the best news, but I honestly don't believe most of what he says at this point. I have said, again, multiple times that after the second interview, I wasn't going to believe him. I didn't believe a lot of that. I don't believe this third confession. I believe that he's going to try and do this multiple times. So I'd like to know what your thoughts are below. He says to Cheryln, "Isn't it weird how I look back and what I remember so much is her face getting all black with streaks of mascara?" This is what Watts says of Shanann. "All the weeks of me thinking about killing her, and now I was faced with it. When she started to get drowsy, I somehow knew how to squeeze the jugular veins until it cut off the blood flow to her brain, and she passed out. I knew if I took my hands off of her, she would still keep me from NIkki. They asked me why she couldn't fight back. It's because she couldn't fight back. Her eyes filled with blood as she looked at me, and she died. I knew she was gone when she relieved herself." So he even goes into great detail about how he knew that she had passed away. He said that to his surprise, his daughter then came walking into the room while he was wrapping Shanann in a bedsheet and began asking what was wrong with their mom. He told them that she wasn't feeling well. And this is, again, after he has admitted that he tried to smother both of the children, both of the girls, before he slipped back into bed and got into an argument with Shanann, said that he wanted a separation or a divorce and that he was leaving her, I guess is what he says. And then they got in this argument, and that's when he proceeds to say what has happened. It's interesting to me that both of these girls both ended up waking up, but he knew for a fact that Shanann had passed away. Just is a little interesting to me. He then says that he tried to carry Shanann's body downstairs, but she was too heavy, and he lost his grip. He ended up dragging her down the steps and then bundled her in the back of his truck. Watts told Cadle that the girls were just kind of running around the house at this time and watching him with scared looks on their faces. Bella even started to cry, and when she did, Celeste then, you know how kids feed off of each other, Celeste started whimpering, and he even admitted what a nightmare this was. He later said, "I realize now the girls getting up and walking around may have been God's third attempt to stop what he was doing." And he has said that there's been multiple times where he tried to use oxycodone to kill Shanann. He admits to trying to kill the girls twice. He says that a lot of this is simply times that he should have stopped. And he says in his newfound faith that he's realizing that this was an attempt from God to stop him. He said that his overwhelming feeling was being so mad that they were still alive. So he wasn't just mad that Shanann was still alive. He says that he has this overwhelming feeling that they were still alive, which is so heartbreaking, those little girls. He then drove with his wife's body, her face and feet wrapped in garbage bags, and his two daughters to a remote oil field owned by his then employer, Anadarko. Following the murders and the disposal of their bodies, Watts searched Google for the lyrics of a Metallica song called Battery. This was confirmed by police records. Now, this is two different articles that I'm kind of combining here because the other one goes into more detail. It says the lyrics include the lines, "Lunacy has found me, cannot stop the battery, pounding out aggression, turns into obsession, cannot kill the battery, cannot kill the family." After the murders, Watts told Cadle, "All I could feel was now I was free to be with NIkki. Feelings of my love for her was overwhelming, and I felt no remorse. The darkness inside of me won. It was still in me, though. I thought maybe permanently. I felt evil, swallowed up by this thing inside of me. I felt like I could kill anything and be justified for doing it." And again, in one of the letters that we read, he says that he does not feel that he would be a danger to anyone, as he doesn't feel that he would do this again, or something along those lines. He lies so much, it's insane. He contradicts himself so much. Cadle later wrote that after Christopher killed his family and drove away, NIkki texted him to look up the song by Metallica called Battery. "I challenge you to look up the lyrics of this song. I find it interesting that we should believe it's only a coincidence," the article goes on to say. And I agree. So it's like he is immersing himself in this song. He is feeling these emotions. He is getting into this groove of thinking he can just kill anyone and be justified for doing it. Yet now, a year later, just a little over a year later, he is, it was less than a year, because the letter that he stated that he would not be a danger to anyone else, or if he would do this again, something similar to that, was dated April 23rd, and that was a video that I did a few days ago. So less than a year after these crimes were committed, and he has said some of these things, he's also said that he would not do this again, but he feels that he does deserve to be in prison, or where he is, for the acts that he has committed. So in both, or really there were a few articles that I went over, most of them again were from the Daily Mail, they went into talking about Nicole Kessinger next, and here we go. You guys, this is just the here we go. We kind of segue into that from the battery. I'd like to know what you think about that. Like, I had never heard that Nicole had texted him about that. I mean, all the text messages that I knew of that were being released were released. I don't remember seeing that unless I missed it. If I missed it, I'd love to know where in Discovery that is, so let me know below for sure. So back into NK here. Watts has claimed that he murdered his family so that he could be free with his mistress, Nicole Kessinger. And he says that if he had not met NIkki, he would have never killed his family. This is, his exact words were, "If I had not met NIkki, I would never have killed my family." And that's a quote that he told author Cheryln. This was from letters and interviews, again, of the explosive book that's coming out. He was mesmerized by her, she continued to say. She showed him respect that she didn't feel, or that he didn't feel like he had ever been shown before. So we kind of knew that before, he had kind of alluded to that prior, but he's just now confirming that. He also claims that he is still in love with Nicole Kessinger, the mistress that he met at work and had been seeing for 2 months, and then decided that he was going to murder his family. His family is his pregnant wife, Shanann, his unborn child, Nico. They have Bella and Celeste, and what all they went through that night is just atrocious, and he is just willingly putting this out there. And in the letter that I went over a couple days ago, he said he wasn't even sure if he wanted this information to be put in the book, or if God wanted this information to be put in the book, but here we are, we're learning it and reading it because he has come out and said it. So I don't know, I'd like to know what kind of percentage you think of the information is actually true or not true. I believe like this much of it. So he goes on to say how he was just enamored with Nicole, and he even tried to cause Shanann to have a miscarriage with their son Nico, again giving her the painful oxycodone. And the thing that got me this time is he says after Nicole told Watts that she wanted to give him his first son. So let me read that to you again. I'm just going to read a couple sentences from the article itself. It says, the 34-year-old was so enamored with Nicole. He even tried to cause Shanann to miscarry their son Nico, giving her the powerful painkiller oxycodone after Nicole told Watts she wanted to give him his first son. Knowing that Shanann was pregnant with Nico and that was going to be his first son, putting it into context with all of these things, it's pretty sick, in my opinion. Christopher says that he loved her like he has never loved anyone else before, and this is something that he has relayed to Cadle. It sounds like multiple times. At the same time, he loves Shanann, although he knows that she was not his soulmate and not the person that he was supposed to be with. Watts has wondered about where Nicole is and told Cadle he has received some letters and postcards signed with different names and wonders if they might be from the woman he does call his soulmate. Watts, 34, confessed his deepest feelings to Cadle. Following the murders, Kessinger also reportedly placed in witness protection and is now living in another state under a new identity. I've heard this is true. I've heard this is not true. I don't know what to believe, so I guess we'll see. Kessinger was adamant that she never would have pursued a relationship or even agreed to date Watts if she knew that he was still with his wife. That is what she said to the cops when she was being interviewed. She said, it's like, I'm going to wake up every day and know that, like, this mom and her unborn child and these two little girls are not around anymore, and it breaks my heart. A tearful Kessinger said. That's a direct quote from the Daily Mail. She also was worried about what would happen to her once she was revealed to be the other woman. She said, my name is about to be slandered for probably a while. I don't know how long it's going to take to heal. But I would not be surprised if it's going to be hard to go out in public sometimes for a couple of years, she explained. After the murders, police say Kessinger searched for, can cops trace text messages, and made multiple searches for Amber Frey, who is the mistress of convicted murderer Scott Peterson. I've gone over this information in some of our very first podcasts we've ever put on YouTube. And we go over some of her searches and just the asinine things that she was searching. And in context with everything that's happened, for her to say that it was just coincidence is pretty messed up. She searched whether people hate Amber Frey and researched Frey's subsequent book deal. Kessinger told investigators she had deleted texts and photos from her phone that Watts had sent her. She said that she didn't believe the affair was the catalyst for the murders, but it may have accelerated the process. That is what Nicole Kessinger thinks. In addition to what they talk about Nicole, they also say that the sentencing judge called it perhaps the most inhumane and vicious crime that they have handled out of the thousands of cases that they have seen, which really says a lot about the crime itself and really just how horrible it is. Cadle goes on to say, he told me secrets that he had held. When the FBI came to see him in February, he didn't know that they were coming and felt surprised and disgruntled over that. They also go on to talk about prison, as I advised in the beginning, how we would talk about the experience that she had when she was actually going to see him. She said his story that he gave them at the time is true for the most part, and there was just some more specifics of how the murders took place that he hadn't actually released since he had been in prison and since he had talked to them. After a few more letters and a prison background check, this is when Cadle had the ability to actually drive up to the Dodge Correctional Institute in Wisconsin, and she was able to meet him. She said that she went to the prison alone. She said her exact words were, "It was intimidating. It's a thorough screening. You can't even have metal hooks in your clothing. My hand was stamped, and I went through 7 locked security doors before I got to where Christopher was being held. Each time, you were in a short hallway, and the last door clicks behind you." Their first face-to-face meeting was conducted via video screen because Watts was still in solitary confinement. The other prisoners were yelling and mad because they had to be locked down in their cells while guards brought him through the hallways. He was handcuffed to the table, and his feet were shackled. It seemed sad with so much security in the prison. They still considered him very much a threat, she says. She says the next 2 visits took place in a general visiting hall alongside other families. The room is lined with vending machines, and Cadle had brought $20 in quarters, which was the maximum amount allowed, she alleges. I bought him a cheeseburger, a bag of potato chips, 2 Mountain Dews, and a candy bar. It's a taste outside of the prison food. Watt's shackles were removed in the main visitor hall, and Cadle was able to give him a hug when he entered. He was then ordered to stay in his chair, and no other physical contact is allowed. When she finally met Watts in prison, she was taken aback, she says. He was more boyish and friendly than I had expected. He had shaved his facial hair, so he looked different. The voice was like I had heard on TV. It's a kind voice, actually. Cadle says that she was perturbed by the fact that Watts was unable to make eye contact as they spoke. She finally addressed it. She said, I finally said, why can't you look at me when you talk to me? He replied, I have always been that way. It's not because of you. So that's something that just struck me, because people have commented on some of those characteristics that he kind of portrays and just some things about him. They also talked about what life was like for him in a high security prison. In solitary, he was locked up for 23 hours a day. It was a small cell, and apparently it was not air conditioned. He came from an almost palatial, and now he's confined to his little cell. He has absolutely nothing. As security was slightly relaxed, apparently Watts gained more privileges, and he was able to go to a day room for a few hours and maybe watch TV. He's picked up playing chess as well, she says. At Dodge Correctional Institute, Watts has his own cell in a wing of around 17 inmates with special needs, close to the infirmary. It's a precaution that has been taken for his own safety, along with moving Watts out of a Colorado prison. She also said that Christopher believes that if he's ever in the general population, he will have a very difficult time. He says that in Colorado, he was in fear for his life. He never saw another inmate, but they would scream at him all the time, telling him ways to kill himself, and he was on suicide watch. He felt treated very badly during that time. I'm not sure what one would expect after murdering their family, but Christopher felt very much like it was a very difficult stay in Colorado. Cadle continues. The article goes on to say, in Wisconsin, life is more agreeable for Watts. His parents have even bought him a small prison regulation TV, and a friend has sent a radio. Apparently he doesn't have access to many stations, but he does get a religious station, and they said that he likes to listen to that a lot. Apparently he reads a lot as well, mainly Christian books and the Bible. One of the first books he read in prison was a true crime book about different crimes. It intrigued me that he would read something like that. He receives a lot of letters. He has a fan base, which is very odd to me, she says. Cadle also added, I'm not a Christopher fan. My sole purpose was to write the book, but he does have many people who write him and women who love him supposedly and want him to write back. There are people that he corresponds with on a regular basis, apparently in addition to her as well. He was particularly surprised in addition to some of the alleged affairs that he had, and he denies them. He tells her about Trent and they talked about Amanda McMahon, and he denied both of them. He said he said absolutely he did not know anything about them and had no dealings with them whatsoever. He never cheated on Shanann until NIkki. I do not believe in my heart that NIkki knew he was going to murder his family, Cadle said. I think the only part she played is that she wanted him to leave Shanann and the girls, and she wanted it yesterday, Cadle said. During their conversation, she also observed a level of detachment, which was over what he had done, which is very interesting to me. She says he doesn't talk a lot about the girls. He talks more about Shanann. Sometimes he talks about them in the present tense, and he tells me that he loves them all. He loves them all very much. Not I loved them with a D, but love, like L-O-V-E, them, like they're still here. She says, I asked him to write me a letter and tell me a little bit about their life together because he didn't do much of that in person. In one letter in the book, Watts writes to Shanann and his daughters directly. Cadle recalled that she had to point out to him that he never once apologized for taking their lives. The letter was more about what it was doing to him than that they were actually gone. It was almost like they had died in an accident instead of the fact that he had murdered them, she said. Later on the phone, I asked why he did not say he was sorry. He said, "Oh, I didn't say I was sorry?" Like, he asked a question. He apparently didn't realize he had not said he was sorry to them. I said, "You've never said you're sorry in any of these letters. I think the public is going to notice that." And I asked him, "Are you sorry that you killed them?" He said, "Well, I'm sorry." I can put that in a letter and you can insert it into the other letters. You gotta be kidding. You have to be kidding. She says he didn't realize. He's an introvert. He told her that this was hard for him to say things out loud and that he could write them in letters to her. In one letter, he even made an appalling new confession, which he had not previously shared with the FBI. That is, I think, what we actually went over 2 times ago. The last video was 2 days ago. She says, "Many nights I couldn't go to sleep. If I did sleep, I would dream about it. Nights I couldn't go to sleep. If I did sleep, I would dream about it. My heart has just hurt for those babies and Shanann. I believe that Christopher has told me the truth, and I believe that it will put the pieces of the puzzle together for people. I think it will give closure to his family if they really read and absorb what he's trying to say in his letters." She says that the Watts family helped her in the beginning by sharing stories and photos, but she began to question their motives. It turned more into a Shanann bashing because Cindy does not believe that Christopher killed his daughters. She believes that Cece and Bella were killed by Shanann. Their entire motive has been to clear their son's name. I understand it would be very hard to admit that your son could do anything so awful. In the beginning, I felt it was out of their pain, but didn't take long to see that they were trying to push the narrative of the book. When I wouldn't write what they wanted me to write, his mother became very angry with me. The more that the author has learned about Watts' upbringing, the more unsettled she became. Cindy Watts told me that she has always wanted to know his thoughts, and she would question Christopher all the time. "What's on your mind? What are you thinking about?" She would insist that he told her. It's a little creepy. Cindy also felt like he loved his father more than he loved her, and that bothered her. While she was writing her book, Cadle also reached out to Shanann's family, the Rustics, but they had declined to participate. She also worries about the effect that the book might have on them. "I can't even begin to imagine what they were, still are, going through," she's quoted saying. "I don't want to hurt them. I want them to know that my intentions are good. I want them to see that the book is in total respect of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico. Unfortunately, they have not wanted to be part of the book," she says, "so I do hate that they have to read it instead of being told." She's also quoted saying that he's tired of pretending and he just wants the story out for everyone to know, and maybe it will calm down. Included in the book is also a letter that Watts wrote to the Rustics asking for their forgiveness. "They don't have any idea about that letter," Cadle said. "I hope that the families can get closure, and maybe people will leave them alone and allow them to grieve in private." Cadle doesn't want the book to be misconstrued as support for Watts, and she has faced backlash for writing it. One thing that has been said is that I'm mothering Watts, but I don't want that to be misconstrued. I am not trying to be a mother figure to him. I absolutely hate what he did, and I don't condone it in any way to him or to anyone else what he did, she's quoted saying. People that support Christopher, I've had backlash from them, and also from people that are very much for Shanann. She says that she tried not to put her opinion in the book. I just ask that before people judge it, they read it. Then you can judge it if you want to. She also said that she's had comments online from people that doubt her letters are really from Watts. For anyone who doubts their veracity, she intends to put samples on display at her upcoming book signings. The letters coming out of the prison are not opened. Christopher would write and seal them. They would be stamped over the top of the seal. That's how he could say whatever he needed to say, she said. Watts has not read an advance copy, but she intends to send him a book once it's published. Cadle says that he was still very much in support of the book when he called from prison on Sunday evening. So there we go. She talked to him this past Sunday. The football game was on when I was talking to him, so we talked about sports a little bit. and then he asked about the book and what stage we're at. He had been told the release date by his family. He knows that there are some things in the book that he's not going to agree with. He has told his family that he wishes that they would back out of the criticism and social media hate that has gone on and realize that he is very much for the book. I believe a part of that is just because he wants the family to understand. I think he's tired of pretending. He wants the story out for everyone to know, and maybe it will calm down. Magic! Cat interruptions. Cadle said that she has never felt in danger going into the prison or at risk from Watts, but she recently learned some new information that gave her pause. Christopher told me that he was warned about having addresses because other inmates will steal those if they can. There's such a lack of a good base of family and people who care about them, she says, especially in general population. Christopher's been told he needs to memorize them, so that's kind of scary. I don't want to be getting letters from criminals I don't know anything about, she says. She's also working on a new book. It's a fictional romance. She says, but she is unsure if she will broach another true crime. She says, I don't have plans right now. This one has affected me for a lifetime. So, I would love to know your thoughts below. Please let me know what you're thinking on the new release of this book. It comes out in a few days on the 7th. It's, again, up for pre-order. You can find a link in my description in addition to the full articles. I've summarized most of these articles, but there are some direct quotes that are taken out of those. So I will let you see those direct links below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this confession. Do you think he's really telling the truth this time? Cadle seems to believe him. Do you think her intentions are good and pure as well? And I'm also curious what you think about the interaction between her and the Watts family and Cindy getting upset as she was trying to construe how the book was, being written and what it was about. And when she did not have control over that, it appears that she got upset. So I'm curious what you guys think. As always, let me know your comments below. Please like this video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We'll see you next time. Hopefully we're going to have something a little bit different than Chris Watts, but this seems to be the latest breaking news that keeps coming out, and of course it keeps coming up about him. So if there's new news about him, we'll talk about it. If not, we'll talk about somebody else. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.